start the recording. All right, I'll get that going. I'll put the notes in from the first part. I sent the my attempt at taking the comments from last month. And I didn't know really what to call it. I just called it a supplement. It's not our budget request, but we had some really great questions and confusion at our last meeting. And I think I kind of figured out a little bit of where that was coming from. And it's because we modeled our plans on the plans of previous economic, the plans that have been done for years. It predates my being hired. And then I was hired as the Economic and Community Development Coordinator. And I report directly to the selectmen. And they have really put me onto a couple of projects that they want me to try to make progress with, affordable housing being one of them. And that was confusing to the EDC, which, and Fran brought that up a couple of times, like, well, what's the EDC's role in this? How are we involved? What are our metrics? And that was, I think that was, made some good points. So what I did is, and then we also last month talked a lot about ranking, you know, the priorities of what we were trying to work on. So what I did is I just pulled the same 9 out, put them in the list over here as goals, but I sorted them by whose primary responsibility. And there are really 6 of those 9 that are EDC driven goals. And then I put them in what I thought was sort of the order that reflected some of the conversations we had. And then I also put over here who was secondary, who else is working on this. And I may have missed some people. So we can take a look at this and think about other groups or commissions that may also be working on these. But if we look at the things that were EDC primary, was the communications, which is really that, you know, that covers everything from the newsletter to the guidebook, which we're going to talk about, to the emails, website, the Explore website, just everything, promoting our town and communicating within our town. It's a huge, that's one of our huge sort of tasks that I see for the EDC. The other was working with the WBA, again, on the guidebooks and the service service guide and community-wide events. So that's a very EDC centric goal, and nobody else really works on that. The NOW subgroup, attracting young families, including services for families and real estate options. The Board of Selectmen, this comes out of some of the goals from the POCD on really trying to attract people to live to our town, you know, and to turn that declining population. So in a way, we could put every commission on there. Maybe I should have included planning, Wayne. I don't know what. Sure. I mean, everybody really should be thinking about this. I know the Planning Commission talks about it. I don't know that zoning talks about it per se, but they're certainly their regulations certainly impact our population. So anyway, I should add them. The next one was supported and advanced town and regional arts and culture organizations. This is something really, I think it's just the EDC that's working here. Occasionally, Board of Selectmen will have a request come to them from an organization to use the building. I think that's actually where Jim is right now. He's meeting with Washington Art Association about an event using the space or something like that. So there is that. The pedestrian and parking options, it's very interesting when you go through the POCD, looking at the village centers is all over the place. The village centers have their own chapter, plus then they come up in economic development and other places. So I probably could put some other commissions there as well, but the impact on economic development is important. You know, for the shops and business having decent parking and sidewalks is very important to the businesses in all of those village centers. So I think that's, I put EDC as primary there. And then obviously broadband as an infrastructure that we continue to talk about. And it's between us and the Board of Selectmen. So those were the things that I saw as primary to EDC. And then after that, there were 3 more goals that were primary to other commissions. And we're secondary in that we're providing support through the communications that we're already doing, or just awareness, making sure that we're aware of what else is going on in our community. So does anyone have thoughts of that? Does that help sort of clarify the conversation we had last month about where our priorities are and our objectives and where we should be putting our energies?
Well, it's clearer to me, absolutely.
Good. You expand this here. Fran, are you with us? Because I know you had some questions, you had some good comments last time too. Robin, you did too. You talked about I think your comment was about prioritizing and things that we felt we must do, and then not things that were
this is super helpful.
Okay. Great. Well, I don't want to spend tons of time on it. If this helps, it helped me to really kind of think it through. And I think I understand some of the confusion because the selectmen have made, some of these objectives, like affordable housing, a goal that they want me to work on that is not necessarily primary to economic development, although it certainly overlaps. And we've talked about that, whether it's worker housing, young family housing, whatever it is. But all right, so I just want to spend a minute on this one. This was a little exercise that I went through because we were talking about the POCD last month. And then interestingly at planning has been going through and looking at each of the objectives from the POCD and rating them green, yellow, or red as to completed, in progress, or nothing at all. And economic development was last month. It was this month or a couple weeks ago. So that was sort of interesting. So I pulled out the economic development chapter, and then the goals that are assigned to the economic development director, which wasn't even a position, interestingly enough, when this was written. And just so you know, it was Jay Hubblebank last month who had requested that we take a look at this, because as we were trying to prioritize who was primary on all of our tasks. So I don't want to spend tons of time going through this, but I thought it was interesting because most of what we're working on shows up right here. And then a few things that were in the POCD, but that we have on our plan that sort of that look at diversifying housing, social and cultural assets. They weren't assigned to EDC back in 2014, but that's because there was no EDC in 2014. I don't think, the vision of what that would be had really congealed yet. So there's community services for growing senior population. There's some pedestrian and parking alternatives, some more pedestrian. This WD means Washington Depot, NP means New Preston. It actually shows up in every village. I stopped cutting and pasting, but so I just kind of thought it was an interesting visual to look at how our goals align with the POCD, which I think is really important. And we will need to look back at this because we're gearing up to write the new POCD. I asked Wayne about a few of the goals that were in here that didn't seem to make a lot of sense to me, tax deferments, things like that. And he said they were probably leftovers from previous plans. So.
Well, yeah, not so much previous plans as for those who were present at the creation of the last plan. The last plan was not an update like this one. It was a rewrite. We started with a blank sheet of paper. We hired a consultant. The consultant basically gave us a lot of ideas that may not have been specifically geared towards the town of Washington, but kind of were on the shelf along with their small town template that they were selling us. And some of those things, and I think like the tax deferment thing was one of those things that just got into the 200+ page pile of stuff that I eventually edited into a plan and just stayed in because at some conversation, at some meeting, the planning commission members at that time thought that we should leave it in. We should always keep in mind that a 10-year plan is never perfect. I mean, no town bats 1,000, and there are going to be some items in any plan where you look at it 5 years later and it's like, what the heck were we thinking? And that might be one of them.
It's okay. So at some point we will want to take a look at these goals and that were set in the previous plan, see what we still feel is relevant, get rid of the ones that we think maybe don't pertain to Washington, and include our own. And we've discussed this a little bit just to kind of start thinking about it, but the time will come soon before we know it. So and I think the fact that we put together an annual plan that drives the work that we work on will be helpful to us when we look at this. Does anyone have questions about this? This is, just so you know, I cut and pasted. This was taken from a mid-plan review that was done by Tim Cole, who used to be very active in the EDC, and it's multiple pages. So I just pulled a few of the things that were relevant to economic. He had a whole page for the Board of Selectmen and a whole page for zoning and a whole page. So yeah, I pulled out the things that were pertain to us. Anyone have questions about that? All right. So let's see. No, we still haven't gotten Lisa or Jim. All right, that's too bad. Well, carrying on, I wanted to share with you the next item on the agenda. Oh, wait, let me pull it up on my screen, is to talk about the guidebook updates. And the first thing I want to say, and maybe she'll want to speak to this, but Fran has done an amazing job of communicating with the people to do the printing. So let's see. There we go. Hold on. Sorry. Trying to work the computer here. So Fran, did you want to give a little update on the printing while we're talking about the guidebook?
Yeah, I mean, basically, we had talked about printing 5,000. I think Lisa, Michelle, and I had a meeting last week. I think we're going to go over that. There have been several people who are taking advantage of the opportunity to put their own logo on it. And I didn't make a list beforehand, so bear with me while I go through it. But Matthew's group is doing 1,000. Sotheby's is doing 500. Rumsey is doing 500. Frederick Gun School is doing 500. And what's the other one, Michelle? There's one more.
Hours doing 500. Did you say that? Stephen Briganti and Posh Pads.
Stephen Briganti is doing 500. So that, I mean, a huge portion of the 5,000 printing is going to people who are using it for their own businesses, which is wonderful. And then there have been inquiries from people who just want to buy guidebooks. And so I believe that, well, Michelle can fill you in, but I believe that we're close to proofs of the guidebook and close to printing, but it will be exciting to have a new guidebook.
Yeah, thank you, Fran. So that is exciting. And then the WBA's plan is to print several thousand extra on top of what everyone has ordered so that we can distribute those. And I think at their next meeting, they're going to discuss how many that should be and whether to add. We talked about trying to bring them to events that are outside of Washington, but close by. Trisha helped us with that last summer and bringing a stack over to the Gilmore Girls event in Kent. Apparently Hollister House occasionally, or in the past, has hosted some kind of workshop in Southbury. I don't know what exactly it is.
It's a garden. It's a garden days that occurs at the Heritage Inn in Southbury in early September.
Okay, great. I asked Sarah if that was what she had wanted them for. She didn't get back to me yet, and she doesn't think they're probably going to order some. It just wasn't in their budget. But anyway, so the WBA is going to consider adding a few extra to see if we can find some events that are just outside of town, but that might help bring people to town. Because right now we distribute the books in town, which is great. You know, they're at the realtors and the inns. We bring them to the restaurants so that, you know, people here can get around. But the goal is someday to maybe even get these books just outside of town to help people find us. So with that in mind, this is the first, I just got this today. So it is the first draft of the updated book. And I wanted to just share it with you all. Anything that's in red, we're still verifying. Few things have changed. I think people lost momentum with COVID. And so we're just verifying that some of these are still happening. And some people have moved when they're doing things. So we're working on that. The other thing I'll just let you know before I go through, and you know what I'll do is I will email this PDF to you all so you can take it, just really read through it, take a look at it, because this is the time to look for typos, to verify if there's a business there that somehow we missed. You know, I think we know kind of where our questions are, but this is the time to take a look. So, oops, sorry. Did I move the whole thing? So if you'll remember, if you don't have one with you, that it's going to be similar in that the back cover opens out, right? So that's why this first page has 3. It's because that's a fold out right there. And what's new in this edition is the QR code that brings you directly to Explore that we had developed. So that is there. And I'm just going to go through the pages to show you kind of what it's looking like. Oh, this is different on this computer. All right, so oh, wow, it's hard. I'm sorry, people. When I work up in my office, I have my big desktop screen and the laptop. I have 2 screens, so making room for the Zoom and using this mouse is hard. All right. The welcome, I believe, is the same wording as we had in the previous welcome, but we decided it would be from the Town of Washington and the Business Association without people's names, just in case anything changed there, changing of personnel. I like what they did. We've got the Welcome Center here, the little red W with the hours and information about the Welcome Center. So that's also new, and we'll talk a little about the Welcome Center after this. I believe this page is pretty much the same. So what they did is they took the basic, what we had before. We added a couple pages. They've refreshed some of the pictures. We changed a few of the categories. And yeah, added a few of the like nonprofits that hadn't made it there before. So I'll keep going. This is a category, this category did not change. I've got an email into Flirtation Farms, but there were a few changes here with this one. Keep going. Shopping. Several additions to this page, and a few deletions. I think we've got this one pretty squared away. I have not reached out to if anybody knows of River Song Antiques or the Satcham Farmhouse. I'm not really sure. I don't remember them being in the previous one. If anyone knows these people or the business, otherwise I'm just going to try to verify, pick up the phone and call and get the information needed. I don't know why Fleming's is in red, because I sent them all that information and it is verified. Maybe she just wanted to see if they had more like hours to add, or if they were open. I went by the other day and the doors weren't open yet, but they look closer. And the website still says coming March. So has anyone heard any differently? No. Okay. I do have several calls into, this is Jampa with Valley Spirit Wellness, which moved up to the green, and I'm working on verifying that. This category was new, schools and worship. They were sort of, a few were in points of interest last time, and we decided it would be more fair to have everybody equally represented. So everybody's there. And we felt that that was of interest to visitors, because there are facilities at some of the schools that are available for use, whether it's a playground or tennis courts. And obviously people who are in for the weekend might want a house of worship. So I believe shopping and relaxing is the same. Here's another, we added a Gilmore Girls page. It is still the most visited page on the Explore website. As Julia likes to say, the gift that keeps on giving. So we thought we would put a nod to that here in the guidebook to make sure that people can get started on their Gilmore adventure. I think that page, there's some new pictures, but that page is the same. And then here is our new map, and I am sorry, it is really hard to read it sideways. So I printed it so that I could just take a look at it. Let's see if people, I need a bigger screen, Wayne. Yeah, so I printed it so I could take a look at it, just make sure everything was there. But what I noticed that Julia had added since we last worked on this, I asked them to, but it was this nice little W here for the Welcome Center. Right on the big map, and then again over here in the depot, and it's got the nice little restroom sign. That was something that the Buildings and Property Commission that I've been working with on this asked me how we were going to promote this, how are we going to let people know about it. And so here's one of the ways. We've got it here on the map. That's going to go in the guidebook, and that will be on Explore. So that's where we are with the guidebook. We're looking pretty close to finished once we just verify a few of those businesses. And I will share the PDF with you all so you can take a look and see if you notice anything. Does anyone have questions?
I just have a brief question.
Yeah.
Once we all decide it's good to go, and we say, okay, pull the string, how long until it actually gets printed in people's hands?
I have no idea. I don't know. We have a quote that Sandor Max got for us. It said they could hold it for 30 days and we're a little bit past that. I don't know how long it took last time. Fran, do you remember? Fran, you're on mute. I can't hear you.
I think it's a pretty quick process. I don't remember exactly from last time, but I think that once it's in the printer's hands, we should have them. Certainly, I would think, well, it depends on when it gets there. I'm going to guesstimate mid-April, but.
Okay, so weeks, not months.
Right, weeks, not months.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
That's, I mean, I just asked this because I know that in the recording business, there have been huge delays in people getting CDs and things like that reproduced, and the holdup has actually been printing.
Wow.
Yeah.
We haven't been told that, and
okay.
You know, I would assume that Sandor Max would, but it is something to be verified. You're right.
Okay.
Yeah, I think we have to verify that the quote is still good since we're past the 30 days, and figure out the whole invoicing component. The WBA is going to figure out, now that we know how many others are being ordered, how many they're going to order. I was going to add, I have to check with the budget, but I think there's some budget available still in the EDC budget. I was going to have the EDC print 500 so that we could use those to keep the Welcome Center and the town hall stocked, just to make sure we have enough for that. So yeah, we'll have to get back in touch with the printers and get all of that part squared away. Yeah, that'll be good. Any other questions about that?
Hey, Michelle, how long do we have to take a look at this? And God forbid there's an error. When do you need this?
I think we actually have a little time, because Julia was working frantically to get this draft to me, because I think she's going on vacation for at least a week. So I say at least a week, maybe even more, because we're cleaning up, finalizing the order itself. I don't know when the WBA is going to also talk about the how many they're going to order, but until the order goes in, it's just electronic. So at least a week or two.
Okay.
That's a good question. And I just wrote myself a note to email you all, I don't forget. Okay. Any other comments or questions? I'm excited. This is looking, I think we've hit a lot of the points that we wanted to with the new map and everything. And, there's a learning curve there. Oh, the other thing, I didn't see it on here, but Julia said she was going to make sure she puts a date somewhere in the a bottom corner of some page, so we know what version we're looking at, because we've done several reprints and aren't always sure. I mean, the new map will let us know it's not one of the old ones, but that'll help us just keep track of the last time it was updated. So that's good. All right, so I will stop sharing that, and I saw Jim just walk through. It'd be really nice if he sat down for a second so we could prove those minutes. Oh, next on the agenda is just an update on the Welcome Center. I have been meeting with the Buildings and Property Committee, choosing light fixtures, talking about paint color. They're getting paint estimates, meeting with Daryl, right, the electrician, to talk about lighting issues. We picked out a water fountain. Although we sent the specs to the plumber just to verify, just to make sure it can go in where we wanted. And I'm excited. We've moved the location of the water fountain, so it should not interfere with the design of the wall that has been assigned to the EDC. So we've not started on the design of the inside walls yet, because the first thing that needed to happen was all of the work. And I'm trying to minimize, but I did want to bring up a picture. So Jim had asked that we update the sign out front, and he wanted it to look like, I keep pulling up this picture and it keeps disappearing. He wanted it to look like the signs that the EDC had made to go, the ones that coming into town. And let me find, I have a picture. I had one made and I just wanted to go over it with you. Hopefully it will come up this time. All right, can everyone see that?
Mm-hmm.
So this looks like the signs the EDC had made, but it's scaled down because it's going to be to replace this sign right here. And Jim wanted it to look like the ones out there. So, and this is what he wanted it to say in that order: American Legion, Senior Center, Welcome Center. Kristen, who's been working with me on this, had asked if the Welcome Center could be at the top or larger, and no, Jim felt very strongly that it needed to be Legion Center, Senior Center, Welcome Center. And then we added it was Kristen's idea to add the hanging sign, open 9 to 4, and then that we can always change. Actually, all 3 of those upper parts too can be changed if the use ever changes. So I just wanted to get your feedback on that. Whether you like it, whether you think it should be different. I have to say, I've been kind of wondering. So the bridge is going to be stained. So this is all going to be a little darker brown. And the Legion Hall is going to get painted, but the exact same color. So it's white pillars and these sort of khakis and brown colors. The current sign is white. This one's off-white, like the ones out on the road. And I just didn't know if it's better to keep them off-white to be consistent, or to make them white to go with the Legion Hall. And I'm assuming this fence is going to get painted as well, because it's looking pretty.
Can I ask a stupid question?
It's probably not stupid. Go ahead.
If it's 40 by 33, it violates the town's ordinance on signs.
In the business district?
I think a sign can't be larger than 4 square feet, and that's about, I'm gonna guess that's about 9 square feet.
No, 16. Business district is 16 square feet.
16 square. They can have a 4x4 sign.
Yep.
Oh, okay. Then never mind.
When I was looking at this as a sign, though, it's sort of a cross between a single sign, which in the business district can be 16 square. I'm pretty sure it's 16 square feet. Or a directory sign where there's more than one. So if you can picture out in front of Marty's, or they have what is called a directory, and this is sort of a cross. It's one place, but it's sort of a directory sign. So I think we're within. Okay. I'll double check. But being in the business district makes it easier. It's also a town-owned building, which is has its own special thing, not in the residential. I don't know. Anyway, I'll double check.
Well, not that anyone abides by the sign regulations, but it would be bad form if we didn't abide by the sign regulations.
Agreed. No, that's.
I mean, at least. I mean, the town itself sometimes doesn't even abide by the sign regulations, but that's another story. But But it would be good for the EDC to abide by the town's
I agree.
sign regulations, and
I agree.
I'll just leave it at that.
Okay.
But I like it. I like as long as we don't get into trouble with the enforcement officer, I'm good.
Okay. Anyone else have thoughts?
Michelle, what's open 9 to 4? All 3 of those, or 2 of those, or what?
Well, yeah, that is a good question. So 9 to 4 is the welcome center, the restrooms component. The senior center is actually 9 to 4 Monday through Thursday and 9 to noon on Friday, although there's talk about maybe expanding that. So, and then the Legion is just like the building.
Right.
They're, it's weird. They have Legion events on occasion. Those are usually.
And are they open like Monday through Friday, or?
Well, so the Welcome Center is going to be 7 days a week, 9 to 4.
Yeah, it's a little confusing. That's all.
Yeah. No, I agree.
Well, I mean,
we could put, I suppose, restrooms open 9 to 4.
I don't know. I think less is more. I think, the door is open 9 to 4.
It's true. The
door is open 9 to 4.
The front door is open 9 to 4.
And the senior center has hours that are smaller than that. And the doors are open 9 to 4. And the senior center has its own hours. The Legion post obviously has its, the Legion guys have their own hours. The Welcome Center even has whatever, but the doors are open 9 to 4. It's,
yeah.
and maybe all that means is you get a water fountain and a restroom, but the door's open. It's like,
okay.
That's a good way to think about it.
Yeah.
And then once you get inside, everything else will be evident. The senior center will have their hours posted.
Okay.
Yeah. Legion, that's just kind of the name of the building, but yeah, and inside also, besides the restrooms and the water fountains, will be some information, some historical information and the guidebooks and the EDC information. So yeah.
Will the sign say Washington Depot at the top?
I think so. Yeah, I mean, it would look just like this unless we decide it should look differently. I mean, this was what.
Would you consider moving the American Legion sign up to replace Washington Depot? Because that explains what the building is. And then the 2 components of the building that it really serves are the Senior Center and the Welcome Center.
American Legion. So it wouldn't say Washington Depot, it would just.
It would say American Legion.
Gotcha.
Because that is what the building is.
Correct. Instead of, so what I'll do is I'll get a mock-up of that as well, so we can look at them both and see what that looks like.
And it would be a single post, not a double post, right?
No, it's a double post.
Okay.
Yeah, that was what Jim had requested, that it looked just like the ones entering town, which I think it makes sense in having some uniformity, which is why it's the same drawing. And this is the same company that made those signs, so that's why it's the double post, just scaled down. Yeah, I guess it could go kind of either way. I don't know. So does anyone else have thoughts?
I have a different question.
Sure. Go ahead, Bryn.
I mean, it's the Washington Senior Center and the Washington Welcome Center, so that if Washington is being used, should you be using Depot as well? And then the American Legion, there was a request, I believe, that you mentioned from the building committee or from the American Legion itself, that the identity of the American Legion itself not be lost. So perhaps if that's what the header is, that helps to satisfy that concern.
That's a good point, Fran. I didn't really think about, because you're right, it isn't just the Washington Depot Senior Center. It's the Senior Center and Welcome Center for all of Washington.
The town of Washington. So
yeah, so maybe if we take the Washington Depot out and put the American Legion there, like Dan suggested, which kind of makes it, and there's a sign up at the front of the plaza saying welcome to Washington Depot. So people should know at this point where they are. One would hope. So I'll have them mock that up and then put the American Legion up where the Washington Depot is. But then do we put Washington Senior Center and Welcome Center, or do we, or Town of Washington underneath?
Town of Washington maybe, and then Senior Center, Welcome Center beneath that.
Okay.
Try that.
Town of Washington, Senior Center. All right. I can envision that. I'll ask the sign company to make one up to see what that looks like and bring it back to you all. I just got this and I have not shared it with the Buildings and Property Commission or the Legion, just Jim and Bob from the building, because we had just met. So, and Jim loved it, but we'll make these changes and I'll bring it back to the committee here and Buildings and Property. Great, good thoughts. Any other comments on that size? It's interesting. I wish I had that man that's in the mock-up standing next to the Washington Senior Center sign so I could get a sense, but I have a feeling it's similar. You know, if you were to stand next to that, it would probably be similar in height. So it shouldn't be taking up much more space than that. What else? Oh, the other thing that I was put in charge of in this project at the Legion Hall is the outdoor. Let me see if I have a picture. I don't know that I need a picture. If you can picture it at the entrance to the Legion Hall, there's a bulletin board right now next to the door with a whole bunch of business cards stapled to it and a few flyers. And the Buildings and Property Commission asked that we order a locked cabinet for that so it doesn't get all junky. So I got it. They're not that expensive. I found one online. It's just a square that fits in that space. I could pull up a picture if you really want to see it, but the idea though was that we might ask Julia when she's putting together the EDC wall that's going to have the map and everything, that we might print something to go inside the case that just stays there, whether it just says welcome to Washington and has the QR code in case the door is locked or something, but that would then be a bulletin board for flyers. But people would have to turn them into the office at the Senior Center to have them hung. So just so there's some control over the board. Was the other component that I was going to be working on. So that is it for about the Welcome Center. I was hoping Lisa was here because Lisa and I have been the ones really working, coordinating, getting the door open. The WBA is currently opening it on the weekends, and March 23rd through the 28th, Pam at the Senior Center is going to be on vacation. So I was figuring maybe I would open the door during the week. And I'll talk to Lisa about the weekend. We'll just coordinate. We're still figuring out the 9 to 4, but I think we're getting pretty close to consistently being open 9 to 4. So we're going to continue to work on that. No more questions? No questions? All right. And let's move on because I don't want to hold people too long. So update on the childcare. Dan had asked last month that I update everyone, and I was hoping to be able to have an estimate for you. And the estimate is not quite complete. It's been delayed. One of the construction managers that's working on the estimate had a death in the family, and we just had a meeting with the fire marshal and the building inspector yesterday that may have changed a couple of things that need to go into that estimate. So I will have that for the next meeting. Hopefully we'll have the estimate for the construction costs, but just so everyone's clear on what's happening, once that estimate is completed, I'll share that with the Board of Selectmen as well as you all. And we're going to need to have a public meeting where we present the concept to the entire to the town. So we'll post that as a public meeting or a public hearing. No, I guess public hearing. I'm not sure what they want to call it.
Informational meeting.
Yeah, an informational meeting. It'll be in the evening so people can come, and we'll talk. We'll walk through the whole project from the beginning. You know what the impetus was, the ones that are around the region. If anyone's forgetting any of that information, the presentation that we did for EDC, might have been about a year ago now, is on our website. So if you go to the town website, to the EDC page under the Now tab, you'll see the surveys that were done, the presentation about the why, behind the daycare, and that's all there. At that information, that public meeting, we'll also have the business plan. And just so everyone's clear, it'll be a nonprofit that will run the daycare. It's not going to be run, it'll be a nonprofit that's in town, but it won't be a town, it won't be adding to town's payroll, for example. We have several people that have volunteered to be on that board, but if you are interested in being on the board, the nonprofit for the daycare, or somebody who would be, please reach out to me. We're going to start either putting that together or at least getting those people together. It's kind of hard to know. We want to have it in place, but we don't want to have it in place if it's not going to move forward. So it's kind of been trying to figure out which goes first. So having people, volunteering to serve on that as a board member on the nonprofit, we'll have them lined up before that town meeting, just so that they can be there to explain that process and that role. So that's kind of the process for now. Hopefully within the next few weeks, we'll have that estimate. And I'll definitely talk to you about the public meeting before that happens. It won't be happening before our next EDC, I wouldn't imagine. So are there questions about the childcare and where that is? No? All right. I haven't seen Jim walk through yet. It looks like he was just in a budget meeting upstairs. It's budget time around here, so he's running around pretty crazy. Fran's here though. Fran, do you have anything to report from the WBA that we haven't already discussed?
No, I mean, the guidebook is the major item at this point. There will be a meeting soon, and well, the block party will be June 3rd. That date has been posted, but there's a committee working on plans for that. Excellent. And that's in conjunction with the Recreation Department.
Yes, that's great. Just in case anyone hasn't noticed, I've been verifying events for the guidebook, and so then putting them on, and June is looking very full for us here in Washington. We've got the Spring Hill Arts Gathering has moved to June. There's a couple of big fundraisers happening in June. The block party starts us off the first Friday of June, so it's looking like a nice full month. Oh, that reminds me, Robin, on the guidebook, one of the things I need to verify is the music on the green. Is that going to be July and August? Do you know when that's going to start?
It's June and July.
Oh, June and July. All right.
Yeah. Friday nights, June and July. But probably not the on Green Fair Eve, but the rest of them.
Okay. So I will, I can't remember what it says right now, but I will verify.
It says June through August. I was going to follow up with you after, but yeah.
Okay. Good. So, and having said that, God, I can't believe it's March. It'll be April the next time we're here. Since so many things have moved to June, last summer we did the arts mail it postcard, which was very well received and very popular. And it went out just, I think it may have gone out mid-June for a July, August mailing, but since some things have moved to June, I think we want to try to get that out in May. So we'll have
want
to
it out before Memorial Weekend.
Yeah, so that people know. Oh, which is great because then we can capture the block party event on that, which we didn't have last time. So we're gonna have to get going on that pretty soon. So I'll be in touch with Julia to work on that. All right, do we have any other business that people want to discuss or business from the visitors? No, all right. Look at that, an hour. It's been a while since we've done that. Oh, I'll just let everyone know next month, Julia will be here. She's going to go through the metrics on Explore. That's always interesting to kind of see what the people are looking at and whether it's growing. So that will definitely be happening next month. I feel like there was another thing next month, but I forget what it was. So if I don't hear any other business, I guess we will move to adjourn. Wayne looks up just in time for that. All right, all adjourned. Thank you all for being here. Have a good evening.